Hello everyone! I've always wanted to make a video about a board game review, so I figured I would try one that's been talked about a lot lately. This one is Die Quacksalber von Quedlinburg. You can see it right here. The title loosely translates to the quacks or quack doctors of the city of Quedlinburg, and the theme is about some competition of snake oil salesmen trying to make the best possible medicine. Now, the theme isn't particularly strong, but first let's talk about the game, and then we'll talk about what I think about it. So this is the player board for a game of Quacksalber von Quedlinburg, and this is where most of the action's going to happen. Before anything else, I should probably explain what you're doing. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be pulling chips out of a bag, and each chip you take out, you're going to place, this is your starting spot, you're going to place it that many spaces away from the last spot you had. So in this case it's a 1, so I'm going to put it one space away from the start. The next chip I draw is going to go one space away from the last chip I placed, and so on. If I were to draw a bigger chip, for example this 2 white, it's going to go 1, 2 spaces away, and if I were really lucky and drew this 4 green, it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away. So these chips of a higher value are going to allow you to make more rapid progress through your cauldron. And ultimately, you can keep going until you either decide to stop, or you reach the end, or most likely of all, you end up busting. And the way you bust is you're going to start with these white chips in your bag, and if ever the white chips in your cauldron exceed 7, meaning 8 or more, then you're going to have an explosion, and it means you bust for the round. You're not totally without anything, but your scoring phase isn't going to be quite as good. Now, at any time, when you've drawn out a chip, you can always turn over this bottle to put the chip back in your bag. However, if that chip would have made you bust, then you're not able to do it. Once this is empty, you can't use it again unless you find a way to fill it, and that usually happens at the end of the round. So you're going to keep going until you decide that you're going to stop. Once everyone has decided to stop, we're going to enter the scoring phase. Scoring phase is shown right here on this board. The first thing you're going to do is see who got the farthest in the cauldron without busting, and that person gets to roll this bonus die. The bonus die is going to show you some bonus that you get. In this case, I would get to take 1 pumpkin chip and put it in my bag. Then some of the chips have scoring effects that happen now, and they're going to happen first blacks, then greens, then purples. Then anyone who qualifies for a ruby is going to get a ruby. The way you tell if you qualify for a ruby is you're going to see the next spot, the spot right after the one you stopped on. So in this case right here, if there's a ruby there, that means I get to take 1 ruby and add it to my ruby supply, which is right there. I can use the rubies a little bit later to do some bonus effects. Finally, we're going to do the scoring and shopping portion. And you'll see here on this spot, I have 9 value and 1 point. Now, since I didn't bust in this case, I'm going to get both the 1 point and the 9 money for spending. Had I busted, I would have to choose between either the 9 money or the 1 point. The points you simply track over on the scoreboard, but the money is essentially what you're going to be using to improve the contents of your bag. And you'll see that all of these different chips have different prices. You can buy 2 chips with the money you have. You can divide it up however you like. Different colored chips that you can purchase. For example, with 9, I could buy a 3 and a 1. Sorry, I could buy a 1 orange and a 1 red. And you'll see that the values go 1, 2, and 4. And you just sort of keep them out there, mixed up together, sorted by number so that you can easily find them. And they go straight into your bag, and they're going to affect your turns for the rest of the game. Now these bonus effects, these chips have bonus effects, and unfortunately all of the pieces are in German here, so you're going to need somebody who can either read German, or you're going to need to download some interpretations of those tiles from the internet. Also, there are bonus cards. We didn't talk about that. This is drawn at the start of the round, and it gives you some sort of a bonus effect that applies to everybody. In this case, you have a choice, and So somebody would need to be able to read that card if you're going to play the game until the English version becomes available. But you're going to decide based on the bonus effects which chips you want to buy. You're going to put them in your bag, and then you have a chance, if you would like, to spend 2 rubies to move your drop forward 1 space or to refill your bottle. The drop, as we talked about here, is the starting spot, and so if you move it forward, that means you're going to start a little bit farther along the journey so that it's more likely that you'll get higher in future rounds. One thing we didn't explain is the rats, and this is done really not in the first round of the game, but thereafter you're going to see if you're not in first place, you're going to get a small starting bonus. You're going to count how many rat tails you'd have to cross to get to the person ahead of you, and in this case, I would cross 1, 2, 3 rat tails. That means I would get to move my rat marker 3 spots. So I would take this rat marker here, and I would go from where my drop is, 1, 2, 3 spots, and essentially I've filled up my cauldron with rat tails, and I am starting a little bit farther along the journey. The rat only lasts 1 round, but it's a way for people who aren't in first place to have a small bump in their starting for the next round. And that's really it. You're going to be going through this motion for a total of 9 rounds, and at that point, whoever has the most points is the winner. Points are tracked over on this scoreboard. It's pretty easy to count them, and there's not really any endgame bonuses except that in the last round you can buy points for 5 money, and you can send 2 rubies to buy 1 point as well. And at that point, you're going to see who has the best score at the end of the game. That person wins. And the rest of it is just going to come down to making the best combination you can out of the pieces you're given. One other thing is that the game comes with a variant. You can flip this cauldron over to the other side, and you have a second drop marker that you can advance along this bonus track. Whenever you get to move your drop forward, you're going to get to choose whether you want to move this one forward or the other one. And that just gives you a little bit more variability. I much prefer to play with this particular side of the cauldron just because it gives you something a little bit more to think about during the game. One last thing to talk about is that there are, as you can see, 7 different colors of books, which correspond to the 7 different colors of chips, other than white, which have no special effect. You're always going to use the black, and the black one is determined by the number of players, and that gives you different effects for having the most black chips. And you also always use the orange ones. The orange one is the same on both sides. It just is nothing. It's just a 1 chip, but it's safe. And the other ones are double-sided, and each side has a different effect. And so you can either use all of the books from one particular set, for example, all of the 1 bookmarks, or all of the 3 bookmark set, or you can mix and match your own, and they give you different effects. For example, the yellow one, this one here says that when you place a yellow chip, the next chip is moved twice as far. So if I placed a yellow chip, and then my next chip was, say, a blue 2, I would place it 4 spaces down my cauldron. This one here, this is probably my favorite one. It says that if all of your white chips have a value of 7 combined, not more or less, then it doubles the value of all your green chips. So at the end of the round, you'll move your last chip again based on the total value of all the green chips you have. And they give you a variety of different effects, which can add some more fun to the game. And that's really the game. It's a very simple game. The one caveat to it is that you do need someone, at least right now, who can speak German, or you'll need to find some paste-ups or a cheat sheet on the internet before you'll be able to play if you're not able to speak German. Other than that, it's a really simple game. I've played with really only people who speak no German, and I'm able to help them understand what the things mean. As you saw, there's really no hidden information. You draw one event card, but it's the same event that applies to everybody. And these tiles have the symbols on them, and once you have it explained once or twice what it does, people don't really have a problem remembering it at that point. This game is really fast. Rounds take just a few minutes, and everyone's playing at the same time. In the last round of the game, you're supposed to draw your chips simultaneously, So essentially one person will say stir, and then everyone will pull out a chip together. Or you can pull out no chip if you want to be done for the round. That just enables everyone to be sure that no one's gaming the system and watching what other people's cauldrons are doing. Or, you know, if you saw how far somebody got, that might help you to plan your own strategy. You can do that every round. I would not do it every round. In fact, it's not really even that necessary in the last round. I've played one time where we didn't even do that, and it worked out just fine. But it's a very fast game. It's a lot of fun. It's easy to play. Just about anyone can pick it up. And even though the theme isn't really all that exciting, I mean, I don't know that it has anything to do with being a quack doctor, you know, the Doc Terminus type. It's just making potions. You're putting ingredients in the cauldron. And it didn't really need any more of a veneer of theme on it than that. So I really recommend this game. It's just one of my favorite ones lately to pull out with people and show them something that's new. Now, there's lots of these games where you're pulling chips out of a bag and customizing the contents of your bag. The most famous one being Orleans, which is fantastic. There's Altiplano, which is also fantastic. But both of those are a little bit thinkier. There's a lot more going on. This one, literally all you're doing is trying to customize the contents of your little drawstring bag so that you can get what you need when you need it and get as far down this cauldron path as possible. That's really all there is to it, but I definitely recommend that if you are able to get your hands on a copy, the Quacksalber von Quedlinburg is just a lot of fun. Thanks.